after me. I do hereby affirm to support the constitutions of the United States and the state of Minnesota. And to discharge faithfully my duties as a member of the Metropolitan Council. To the best of my judgment and ability. Congratulations. Let's give him a hand. I think that is it. So now we can start the council meeting. That was exciting. Get the pictures done first. Ready? Good afternoon. It's time to begin the meeting of the Metropolitan Council. It is Wednesday, March 6, 2019, and I call the meeting to order. How's everybody doing? Good?
Good, thank you.
All right, great job. Good to have you sworn in. First item of business is approval of agenda. Could I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
A second. There's been a motion and a second on approval of agenda. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is adopted. Next is approval of minutes. The approval of minutes from our February 27th meeting. Can I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes?
So moved. Second.
Okay. There's a motion and a second to approve the minutes from February 22nd. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. The motion passes. Public invitation. At this point in the meeting, members of the public who wish to address the council on matters not on the agenda may do so. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Did we have anybody sign up?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Okay. So there's no public comment. Next will be the business items. Normally, members, we typically have a consent agenda from our committees and reports of standing committees, but today is special, so we don't have those. We'll have them next time. So no consent agenda, no reports of standing committees. Other business, members, we have one business item, 2019-52 Metropolitan Council Member Committee Assignments. I would ask our new Vice Chair, Councilmember Cummings, to move this item.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. So it's been moved and seconded, the standing committee assignments and advisory board appointments of the Metropolitan Council. Now, I just need just a second. Okay. So what you need to know, this is a business item council will hear annually in terms of committee assignments. I made these recommendations after reviewing council member preferences submitted by survey, hearing from division leadership about the needs of each committee, and working with staff to balance overall time commitment and interests of each council member. Although no one received all their top choices, I want you all to know that, I hope this business item finds balance and offers each of you the opportunity to put your full talents to use. I've discussed the content of this item with each of you individually. We either had a phone call or texted, and we've talked it through, and believe we've addressed any concerns that have been raised. Okay, so there is a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. The motion passes. Thank you. And it's exciting to see, to all of those in the room, the real committee work of the council is done through the committees. That will be the bulk of your work. So the assignments are very meaningful, and I'm excited to see how those roll out and how you work on your committees. Next, we will have other business. Item number, members, we have an informational presentation for our Office of Government Counsel on an overview of the Met Council's charges, duties, and responsibilities. At this time, I would ask staff to come and give their presentation. So staff is going to come before us up here. This is our general counsel. I think, did you meet her today? Yep. This is Ann Bloodhart and Dave Tyson. Okay, welcome to the Metropolitan Council.
Madam Chair, council members, my name is Ann Bloodhart. I'm the General Counsel for the Metropolitan Council, and with me today is David Tyson, our Deputy General Counsel. We would like to welcome you here today to your first council meeting. I know that you've been in meetings all day, and so we've been instructed to be interactive and entertaining. That's really a big ask of the lawyers, so I just want to go on record as saying that first. I think we can be informative, however. Between the Deputy General Counsel and I, we have over 50 or almost 50 years of public sector representation experience between the two of us, and we're closing in on 40 years of representation of the Metropolitan Council. So I hope today you can learn a little bit more about the things you can do, how we run our meetings, and then certainly over the course of time, you're going to have questions, and we are always open to your questions. So the Metropolitan Council started in 1967. It was a bipartisan effort, but it was actually passed by a Republican legislature and adopted by a Republican governor. So this has been a bipartisan effort to plan for the orderly and economical development of the 7-county metro area and coordinate the delivery of services that couldn't be provided by any one city or county. So over time, through the late 60s and the early 70s, the legislature created the Metropolitan Transit Commission, the Regional Wastewater Treatment System, the Regional Park System, authorized the Metropolitan Council to exercise HRA powers, and directed the council to adopt regional plans and reviews for comprehensive planning for local communities. But then in 1994, under the Metropolitan Reorganization Act, they abolished the Regional Transit Board, the Metropolitan Transit Commission, the Metropolitan Wastewater Control Commission, and vested all of their responsibilities in one body, the Metropolitan Council. So probably the primary question you have as council members is, what exactly is the Metropolitan Council and what can we do? Well, the Metropolitan Council is a public corporation and political subdivision. It serves the 7-county metropolitan area, and it is not a state agency. I think that's one of the primary things that it's important for you all to realize. Certain laws that apply to state agencies do not apply to the Metropolitan Council. For every particular law that we look at, we have to look at the definitions of the governments that it applies to, because sometimes we're treated as a city or a municipality, sometimes we're treated as just a Metropolitan Council, sometimes we may even be treated as a state agency, but it's all really dependent on the particular language of the statute. But just know we are not a state agency. Now, to be interactive, I agreed to ask the following questions. How many communities do you think are in the 7-county metro area?
180.
Oh, and you have to raise your hand and be recognized by the
Councilmember Lindstrom.
Madam Chair, 180.
I would like another guess.
Is there another guess? Raise your hand if there's, okay, Councilmember Lee.
1,300.
We're getting
Madam Chair, actually, under my own rules, the first answer was close enough. The answer is 186, and I didn't bring it to the table with me, but I will give it to you. A fully autographed copy of Thrive 2040 that has been autographed by the Office of General Counsel. This information on the 186 communities came from that document, and there's a lot of really good background information about the council in Thrive 2040. So I would encourage you to refer to it. So what are the parameters that you're operating under? The first is the public purpose doctrine. And I know many of you come from local governments. You may be familiar with some of these principles already, but everybody comes in with a different level of experience. So I apologize if you already know these things, but I want to make sure we all have the same base understanding. So the public purpose doctrine says that public funds must be used for a public purpose, not a private purpose. And the legislature for the council has defined those purposes through the statutes that they enacted with respect to the Metropolitan Council. So for public spending, the council can only use funding for something that is expressly authorized by statute or necessarily implied. And those expenditures must be related directly to the regional governmental functions and purposes for which the council was created. So if the council wanted to do something that was within the purview of some state agency that we didn't have the statutory authority for, the public purpose doctrine would say the council can't spend its public funds on that. The council also cannot make gifts, meaning we can't use council assets and give them away for no compensation or for private purposes. The example I came up with was if you all decided to build a mansion for the chair to live in. I thought that would probably be a gift. Dave didn't want me to suggest it because he was concerned somebody might think it was a good idea and we would deal with it later. But it's the best example that I had. The statutory charge that the council has is that the Metropolitan Council shall have and exercise all powers which may be necessary or convenient to enable it to perform and carry out the duties and responsibilities now existing or which may hereafter be imposed upon it by law. And that's basically just a statement of the public purpose doctrine, specifically applicable to the council. You're all probably been given some background information on the various services that the council provides. I'm not going to go through all of them. All of these services that the council provides are again dictated by statute. And as they come up over the course of time, staff is really well versed in what the council can and cannot do and what the statutes say. And they'll provide you with all the necessary background information. Dave?
Thank you. Council members, Madam Chair, and welcome to the council. Ann just went through a little schematic that showed you sort of the core functions of the council. I'm going to start out with describing one of the functions the council performs that's very important for the entire region, and that's its status as the Metropolitan Planning Organization for the 7-county metropolitan area. The council was designated as the Metropolitan Planning Organization, or the MPO, back in 1973 by the governor. And then 2 years later, in 1975, the legislature enacted a law that said the council is the MPO for this region. And as part of that law, it also established what some of you might be familiar with, and that's the Transportation Advisory Board. And in the interest of interaction again, Madam Chair, could people, council members, just show me how many of you have had experience with the TAB, either as members? Okay, well then I'll go through this really quickly, or you can tell me what I'm supposed to say. So the designation of the MPO is by state statute, and it's a federal requirement that transportation planning and programming for federal funds in an urbanized area like the metropolitan area must be conducted by a designated MPO. The Transportation Advisory Board, as I say, was established by statute as well. It assists the council in providing a forum for transportation planning and programming, and it advises and recommends transportation items to the council through the council's transportation committee. The protocol that the council has with the MPO's function here is that the TAB makes recommendations to the transportation committee. The transportation committee goes to the council, and the council either concurs with the TAB recommendations or it doesn't. It has no line item authority. If it doesn't concur with everything the TAB sends up, then they route it back to the TAB for reconsideration, and then it kind of goes back and forth. It's my experience that that doesn't happen very often at all. Some of you may have had a different experience. And by statute, 18 of the 34 TAB members are elected officials. 11 of them are from elected city officials, and 7 counties in the metropolitan area. I think I'm getting ahead of myself here, but That's why they don't ask me to do this very often. The MPO functions are basically to do long-range planning. The council does that with the adoption of a transportation policy plan. That is both a federal and a state statute requirement. And I don't know if you've heard about it yet or know about it, but the transportation policy plan is one of the metropolitan system plans for the Metropolitan Council. And that's very significant. It's very significant for the council's authorities under the Metropolitan Land Planning Act. It also does short-range transportation improvement program, otherwise known as the TIP. And that's a program of proposed federally funded transportation projects. It's usually programmed in a 4-year cycle, and it encompasses major local projects, regional solicitation projects, other competitive federal grants, and then projects programmed by regional transit providers and MnDOT as well. The functions, as I just sort of went over very quickly, are to allocate federal funds through a competitive solicitation process. That's overseen by the TAB. It coordinates planning activities with MnDOT, transit operators, the Metropolitan Airports Commission, and local governments. And then it's also required to have a federally required public participation process, and that's intended to seek and listen to the public in the planning of federal funds programming processes.
Next, we're going to move on to a discussion of the council bylaws, which I'm sure all of you who have children here are going to be very excited to hear about. And I can give them extra copies if they want to take one home to review them. You've all been given a copy of the bylaws. It is a very important document, and I would encourage all of you to read it. I actually do refer to it on a weekly, if not a daily basis. And in November of 2018, we went through and we reviewed them, and we made a lot of changes to try to make it clearer and simpler so that if you had a question about how the bylaws actually functioned or what your duties were, that you would be able to refer to the document and hopefully be able to get an answer to your question. So the state statutes prescribe the council duties and responsibilities generally. The bylaws govern how the governing body transacts council business, establishes the roles and responsibilities of the chair and council members, and prescribes the rules of conduct for the chair and council members. Later in our presentation today, we'll discuss the conduct of meetings through the bylaws specifically. So the chair's responsibilities are to act as the principal spokesperson and legislative liaison for the council. She presides at council and committee of the whole meetings, directs the preparation of council and committee meeting agendas, and provides direction to staff on matters of council policy. In addition, under state statute, she has the primary responsibility for meeting with local elected officials. The vice chair is appointed by the chair and is confirmed by the council. And the vice chair will exercise the duties and responsibilities of the chair whenever the chair is unable or unavailable to serve. For example, if the chair has to go testify at the legislature, then the vice chair will step in and run the meetings. So council members, the council governing body makes policy. That is the most important function of the council. Council members attend and participate in council meetings, meet regularly with the local elected officials and legislative members from their respective districts. And again, that's set in state statute, not just in the bylaws. And each council member must be on at least one standing committee, transportation, environment, or community development. So those rules were followed when your committee assignments were made. And again, that is set by statute. Council member conduct specifically is governed by the bylaws and by the code of ethics. The regional administrator is the principal administrative officer responsible for the day-to-day operations of the council and ensures that all policy decisions of the council are carried out. Our chief financial officer is the treasurer, and then the council will adopt an annual work program and budget, thankfully not at this meeting, because if your children think our presentation is boring, that one is long. With respect to litigation management, the chair and the regional administrator, in consultation with the general counsel, have delegated authority to initiate, settle, appeal, and manage claims in litigation by or against the council. The management committee will be briefed on litigation and claims on a quarterly basis or as otherwise requested. And ethical practices, I'll turn to you, Dave.
Yes, and mentioned that the bylaws were amended in November of last year, 2018. Actually, it was a fairly long process. It went to the management committee twice, came up to the council twice, I believe. And so we were trying to, at the end of the tenure of the last council, we were trying to gain some experience from their experience from having been there for about 8 years. And so we updated the bylaws and added some things as well. And two things they added to the bylaws that are very significant are the ethical practices and conflicts of interest provisions in the Code of Ethics sections of the bylaw. The ethical practices and conflicts were actually adopted back in 1991 by the council, and we thought it would be appropriate to bring it up into the bylaws so it's easy to see, where it's at. You don't have to look back 20 years or whatever it was. So there are two components to the Code of Ethics. One is the ethical practices provisions, and I'll just go through these quickly. I think as many of you have government experience, you should be familiar with these. But as an initial matter, council members cannot receive any sort of payment or compensation from any non-council source in connection with their duties as council members. That includes promises of employment or future employment or gifts. There are some exceptions to that, but they're very small and they're in the bylaws. The gift prohibitions in your bylaws are very much the same as the gift prohibitions in the Minnesota's Ethics in Government Act. And as public officials under state law, you are governed by that conflict of interest provision. One thing I'll mention here is the prohibition against gifts is that public officials cannot accept gifts from lobbyists or lobbyist principals, and lobbyists principals cannot give gifts to public officials. Sometimes there are questions about what constitutes a gift and can you accept it, and the chair and the Office of General Counsel are always there to help guide you through that if you have questions. Another thing in the ethical practices section is that council members cannot use confidential information to further their own private interests or business interests. Confidential information is described and defined in the bylaws. Council members cannot be employed by the council while they are council members or for 1 year after they leave office as a council member. Council property, email and computer systems and other resources of the council cannot be used for anything not directly related to the council and your council member duties, although there are some incidental uses you can use. If you have an iPhone from the council, for instance, it's not a violation of the ethical practices section. Just, schedule an appointment for lunch with the chair or the vice chair, something like that. Council members should not use their official position to secure benefits or privileges or advantages for themselves, their families, or related organizations. The bylaws define what a family is. I think it uses the term immediate family. The definition of immediate family is based on the state statute, so we put that in there as well. Council members also should not participate in any matter pending before the council if the member, their family, business, or associated organizations have a financial interest in the matter. In council property, email, computer systems, equipment, and supplies, and other resources may not be used for political purposes. That's a matter of good policy. It's also a matter of federal law, Hatch Act. Since the council is federally funded, we have those restrictions on us. The second part is a conflict of interest. This is it's got a little bit of text to it, but I want to read it because that's a statutory definition of a conflict of interest. A council member who in the discharge of official duties would be required to take an action or make a decision that would substantially affect the member's financial interests or those in the associated business must do three things. First, they must prepare a written statement describing the matter requiring action or decision and the nature of the potential conflict. And the form for providing that written statement is available through the Campaign Finance and Public Disclosure Board. And if you'd like assistance finding that form, I'm sure Peter can help you do that as well. The second thing you must do if there is a potential conflict of interest is deliver copies of those statements to the chair. And then the third and probably the most important thing you have to do and remember is to refrain from participating in any discussion or vote on the matter and otherwise attempting to influence council members or staff on that matter. Again, this whole provision here is based on state law and the conflict of interest in the Ethics in Government Act, state law. council member authorized to take part in any manner in making a sale, lease, or contract in their official capacity cannot voluntarily have a personal financial interest in that sale, lease, or contract, or personally benefit from that. That is virtually verbatim from a state statute that applies to all public officials, almost all public officials, and that statute applies to you as well. A council member must not participate in council deliberations, actions, or decisions, or attempt to influence council members or staff if the council member is involved in circumstances that might give rise to an appearance of a conflict or create the appearance of impropriety. Now that doesn't sound like much, but it's very important. Since 1926, the Minnesota Supreme Court has dealt with this issue, and it has said several times that the appearance of conflict is almost as important as an actual conflict. And it's important because it undermines the public's confidence in the decision makers and the integrity of the public decision-making process. So if you have some questions or you're seeking some guidance on appearance of conflict issues, I'm sure the chair would be happy to sit down and talk with you, or Ann can give you guidance as well.
I just want to jump in and reiterate that, because I think what can happen and what may happen at some cities is that sometimes people want to participate in the discussion and then they just remove themselves from the vote. But we changed the bylaws to make the wording absolutely clear that if you can't vote, you also can't discuss or have outside discussions with staff on it or try to influence their decision making. We try to keep people who have a conflict or even the appearance of a conflict completely walled off from the decision making, so that if your decision as a council is challenged, we don't have those improper contacts to kind of taint that decision. Meeting conduct?
So the next one is the meeting conduct, and it will open with some statements on the open meeting law. It is a state statute that applies to almost all governmental entities in the state of Minnesota, including the Metropolitan Council. It applies to meetings of the governing body, the 17-member body, as well as your committees. It has some notice requirements and identifying when your regular schedule is. And when violations of the open meeting law come up before courts, they construe the statute very much in favor of the public. You don't even have to show monetary damages. The damage is done if the law is violated. So courts are not going to look very favorable on open meeting law violation claims. And they do it because they want the public to have the opportunity to see the decisions made in a public setting. They want to avoid secrecy in those things. And they also want the public to be able to, in the appropriate circumstances, to participate and ask questions if they need to or want to. Now, the open meeting law is very broad, as I just said, and the term meeting applies to any quorum of this council and any quorum of any committee of this council. Anytime you have a quorum, either of the committee or the council, and they are gathered for the purposes of hearing information, discussing or deciding council business matters, that's a meeting that should be open to the public. And the other thing that I'd like to stress here a little bit is that the meeting doesn't just apply to people being in the same room. It can also apply to serial email correspondence or even text messaging. Let's see, the open meeting law does not apply to chance or social gatherings. So once you're out in the hall and you're just talking about things, that's not really a meeting that's subject to open meeting law unless you start to talk about business. Then it's an open meeting law issue. The way the open meeting law is drafted, it makes council members or public officials who violate the open meeting law personally liable for violations. And that could be up to $300 per violation. Could mean an attorney fee award of up to $13,000. And if there are 3 violations and 3 separate actions, it could mean forfeiture for public office. In 2016, there was a case out of Carver County, I believe, and 4 city council members were, the judge found that they had violated the open meeting law on multiple occasions, and the aggregate fines assessed against those 4 city council members was almost $8,000. And then the matter went up to the Supreme Court, and I'm sure they spent some more money on attorneys' fees and representation there. So violations can be very significant. Oh, okay. The council already has what's called a schedule of regular meetings. Those are times when the council meets regularly. For the council currently is the first and second Wednesday of every month. The committee of the whole is every first and third Wednesday of the month, and the committees have their own regular schedule. Once that schedule is set, then you can amend or change or add any agenda item at any time, because the public's been put on notice that that's the regular time you meet, and if they want to see what you're talking about, deciding they can come to those meetings. A special meeting is when you have a meeting in a time, a location, or a place that's different than your regularly scheduled meeting. And if you call a special meeting, you have to give at least 3 calendar days notice to the members of the public. And then once you establish that notice, you have to identify what the purpose of the meeting is, where it's going to be held, and what time. And once the purpose is established, you cannot change that at a special meeting. You cannot add items to the agenda. You can take them off, but you cannot add them. So that always requires a 3-day notice, and sometimes it gets a little dicey.
So council meetings, I think as you've seen today already, business is transacted at council meetings. You start with the approval of the minutes and the agenda, which generally don't have much debate to them. The consent items are routine matters for which there is no dispute. It's the chair's discretion whether to place something on the consent agenda. A consent item cannot be debated, but you can ask questions about it. So if you have a question about a consent item, you can ask a question about it. And then any council member can ask that a consent agenda item be removed from the consent agenda and addressed as a regular business item. Then we have our business items, which typically advance from committees. It's a very rare occurrence where it doesn't come through the committee first. And then informational items such as the presentation that we are doing today. Committee of the whole meetings are generally for informational purposes and to allow for deeper discussions. Business can be conducted in circumstances requiring timely council action for exigent business items. So on the very rare occasion, we may have to conduct business at a committee of the whole meeting. It's allowed under the bylaws, but it's not the primary purpose for it. So our meetings generally follow Robert's Rules of Order in combination with our bylaws. I know that sounds really intimidating. There's really kind of a few things that we need to know from Robert's Rules of Order to make meetings flow smoothly. I have a book, Robert's Rules for Dummies, which I have found very helpful and much more understandable than the entire book. I could use even a smaller one, maybe a Gilbert's version of it. The most important thing is that the chair directs the discussions, and I think that can be a little bit difficult for people who are used to more free-flowing meetings, but I think it really helps the meetings flow more smoothly, and they're more understandable, both for the council members and for the public who are trying to watch along. So that is the key piece of it. So all discussion and questions are directed through the chair. So if you wanted to speak on an item, you would raise your hand and be recognized by the chair. And council members are not to direct questions to each other, but they would direct the question to the chair, who would then say whether or not it should be responded to. The same thing goes when staff is presenting, and you will notice I am really bad at it, but most of the staff is really good at it. Waiting for the chair to tell them to answer the question, recognizing the chair, and then answering the question. Because on occasion, a council member may have a question of a staff member or of a visiting speaker that doesn't actually pertain to the business at hand, and the chair may choose not to have that question answered at that time. It might not be the proper forum. There might not be time for it. So if we kind of follow those rules of directing everything through the chair, it just makes things go much more smoothly. Also under Robert's rules, you can't ask serial questions. So basically, I think it's kind of a playground rule, really. Everybody gets their chance to ask their question or make their statement before a person gets a second chance. And that's just kind of basic Robert's rules. Again, we don't have a lot of issues come up under Robert's rules. If you have questions, you can certainly ask me before a meeting. But That's kind of just the general rules we play by. So we have standing committee meetings. We have 4 standing committees, the management, community development, transportation, and environment. If you're not on a committee, you can still attend the committee meeting if there's a business item that's of interest to you. You can ask questions, you can participate in the debate, sorry, but you just can't vote. The majority of discussion happens at committee meetings, so council members are encouraged to attend committee meetings where they have something of interest to them. And the public who wants to comment on a particular business item, they should be encouraged to attend the committee meeting and to bring up their concerns for discussion there, as that's where it will be fully fleshed out. Voting, we typically take actions, not resolutions, unless a bylaw requires a resolution or the statute says it has to be by resolution. It's typically voice vote. We do have roll call votes for budget items, but any council member can request that their vote be entered in the minutes. Amendments is a really important one. If you've seen a business item and you know you want to make an amendment, contact the staff person and the committee chair for that committee and tell them what you want. The staff can help you craft the amendment that does what you want it to do, because sometimes you may not have the right words, and also allows us to bring that amendment in writing to whatever meeting you're going to. We can then pass it out to the public. Everybody knows what the amendment is. It makes it much easier to deal with. And it's certainly something that staff has dealt with before. The council only wants to take one action at a time, so it gets really dicey when we start to amend amendments. And the one meeting where we kind of went down the rabbit hole and Robert's Rules of Orders wise, that's what was going on. There are no friendly amendments under Robert's Rules. You only have a very brief period of time from when someone brings an amendment to when you would be able to change that amendment, and that is before the chair has stated the motion. So if Dave moved to amend this meeting to cut off my speech right now, and someone had seconded it, you could only bring what people see as a friendly amendment before the chair says the motion has been made. That's really not a lot of time for you to do that. So it's better if we just try not to do friendly amendments. And if we need to amend an amendment, we can do that. But let's just do it in an order that's understandable by us and by the public who's trying to follow what it is that you're trying to do. And that completes our presentation. Dave, did you have anything else? I don't
Well,
know if there's any questions.
thank you. Very nicely interactive. And it's kind of like, everybody remember those old Holiday Inn commercials? No surprises. That's kind of the theme here, right? And so officially, think about these things. If you have some concerns and you think, I'm just not, you're going over your packet, you're thinking about it, I'm not sure about this, just ask one of us, and then we can talk about that discussion and how to frame things and how to work with amendments, things like that. It's just better to do it that way. And also, as far as the public contact, I think it's all right there. But again, if you have questions, don't hesitate to ask. It's always just better that way. So thank you very much. Okay. So we know that we are the only thing standing between all these people and food and you. However, I want to talk about the reports part, which is item 9. So every time we will have the same structure of reports, chair, then council members, then regional administrator, then general counsel, and then adjournment. And so I'm going to say a couple of things, but I am going to ask for the audience. This very group sat here this morning, right? And we asked 2 things. One question they may have for today. I hope those were all answered. If they're not, let us know. And then they had to answer one thing nobody knows about you. Now I'll let them tell you what their questions were, what they said. So what I want to do is start with Councilmember Johnson, because I want everybody to talk, and we'll make it brief. But I wanted to answer what you're most looking forward to, as well as anything you might want to say. We try to keep this time pretty short, so a minute or 2, and knowing your families are there. But I wanted you all to see how articulate everybody is, so you all get to say something. Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you to the fellow council members. It's been great getting to know you today, and we're going to build great relationships going forward. That's one of the things I'm most excited about. And for everybody here, I just want to first of all thank my family. I want to thank folks from the city of Plymouth and maybe other cities in the district, because I used to be a city council member and mayor for Plymouth, but I have 11 fabulous cities now for District 1. So if they're here, thank you. And then also my friends who I work with at Greater Mesquite, thank you for being here. We couldn't do any of this without all the people that support us. It really is a partnership. And I was really just struck too and humbled by the wonderful people who have applied for this job and the process that the nominating committee went through. It was an amazing process and a lot of talent went into this. So all in all, I'm just really looking forward to dig in and really promote the One Minnesota agenda that the governor has put forward. I believe that while we have many wonderful communities and we have interests that need to pay attention to, and there's diverse needs throughout our region, we are still all in this together, and we need to support each other. So I can't wait to get started. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Shambles.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am so honored and happy to be here. I want to also thank all of the council members and the people that applied and the folks that are here supporting us. What I'm most excited about is being able to serve the communities on the committees that I am, and being about the work of the council and supporting the regions that Met Council comprises of. So thank you very much. Do you still want us to talk about something unique about ourselves?
No, nope, that was,
Oh, okay.
that was this morning. No, nope,
Okay,
we can
all right.
let the audience find out later. You can tell.
Sure.
Councilmember Ferguson.
Thank you, and again, thank you for the opportunity to serve District 3. I think for me, the part I'm looking most forward to, I guess, over our term, we'll build the Southwest Rail Line, which will be a major project, and hopefully we'll see the same level of development as we did along the Green Line out in our part of the community, and be able to bring a lot more jobs, good paying jobs, and be able to connect people from a broad range of backgrounds to those jobs so we can hopefully create economic prosperity for a broader segment of our population. It's been great to meet all of the other council members and hear all the various interests, and look forward to working with everybody.
Excellent. Councilmember Barber.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I'm so excited to be serving and be reappointed to this new council, and I'm really looking forward to working with all of you. And it's been very great experience getting to know you all today. I think one of the things I'm most looking forward to is continuing the work out in my district and bringing that back to the Metropolitan Council. Spent a lot of time over the last 4 years out in the district getting to know the communities from the more urban, suburban, and rural areas, and I'm really looking forward to continuing those relationships and bringing that sort of perspective from different areas of the region to Metropolitan Council.
Thank you. And I'll try to call the chairs by the chair. So Chair Barber, Chair Barber chairs the Transportation Committee and sits on the tab. Vice Chair of the Council, Cummings.
Madam Chair, thank you very much. I'm very excited to be here, and thank you to the Metropolitan Council staff today who provided an orientation that was really, I have been in an elected position until midnight last night, so I have some familiarity. However, this is all new, and it was just delightful to come in and feel warm and welcomed and informed and so forth. So I thank you all for that. I'm looking forward to working especially on Southwest LRT, District 5, Hopkins, Edina, Richfield, and Bloomington. So I have been in my past with 4 years on the City Council, and then in my 4th year as mayor, I've been very involved in working on Southwest LRT and a robust transportation and transit system in general, which will benefit all of us, our residents, our businesses, everyone. And I'm just excited about the work that I think is going to move forward now very quickly if the snow ever goes away. And am just really pleased to be here. And thank you all. It was great to meet all of you that I hadn't met before. I'm excited about working with all of you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And I did want to recognize Chair Ferguson will be chairing the Management Committee. So thank you. Councilmember Atlas Ingridson.
It's a long name, Madam Chair. Thank you. Well, I just want to thank all my family, friends, neighbors who come out today, but also supported me along the way. And the question that I had for the group was, how will we be making and contributing to measurable shifts as it relates to equity in our work, given the significant costs that inequity has in our community and region. And it's also paralyzing effects on us socially and in our hearts. And how will we be making that shift, thinking about the next generations to come behind us, and how we just can't continue to lose out on the vibrancy that they have to contribute, and those that have been here and have been not included in what we're doing, and the systems that have allowed that to happen. I shared earlier that I love the snow. And so I'm excited also about advancing equity and access in our parks and natural spaces.
Thank you. Chair Lilligren, so the regional administrator said, oh, we don't always call them chair, but I just kind of want people to know who the chairs are. And so Chair Lilligren will be chairing community development.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hello, all my relatives. And I want to first express my thanks and gratitude to Governor Walz, Lieutenant Governor Flanagan for their confidence in appointing me to this position. I really want to thank the chair and the regional administrator and the staff, especially, for the incredible work they've done getting us into these seats in an orderly way that makes some sense. And also to echo the thanks to the nominating committee that did incredible work interviewing a lot of people, and I see that the chair of the nominating committee has joined us here. And what I'm most looking forward to is advancing the goal of One Minnesota through creating equitable economic opportunities through the investments that we make through the Met Council here. So, miigwech.
Councilmember Moose.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Habeen wanaagsan. Assalamu alaikum. I'm really excited to meet with these great council members. I am excited to work on affordable housing, inclusive economic development, and especially I would like to see a region where disparities are eliminated. And I look forward to work with all of you here tonight. And especially I want to thank the imams and the community members who are here tonight to support us. And I look forward to working with you.
Thank you. So, Regional Administrator, would you like to say something? Meredith? Okay. Go after. Okay. I just want to mention we do have a couple members from the nominating committee, and we'll remember them. The chair is here, Janet Williams, who's the mayor of Savage. You want to raise your hand, Janet? Lisa Wyke is here. So Lisa is here, and Nikki Villavicencio is. Yeah, there we go. Are here. So. I didn't miss anybody. You know, Peter Lindstrom is my principal aide, and so if you're
Peter Grafstrom.
Or Peter, yeah, two Peters, it's going to be hard. Peter Grafstrom, of course, and so if you need to schedule appointments and things, he can help with that. So thanks for all your help. I'm going to go to Council Member Zarin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm very. I want to say. I always do this. I start talking and my brain's moving faster than my mouth. But I just wanted to thank you. I wanted to thank the committee that put together all these folks that applied for the Met Council. We had a very good pool. I'm looking forward to working on as being the only electrician on the Met Council. I want to look at solar energy. I want to take a look at energy efficiency. I want to solve some transportation issues, particularly Highway 10. It would be really nice to fix that up. And Highway 65 and 47, these are all issues that are pretty important to my district and District 9. And I just look forward to really getting to know a lot of people and getting to participate in a process that is open and it takes a lot of people, different people's opinions and perspectives into view. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Well, now, Chair Lindstrom, Peter Lindstrom will be chairing the Environment Committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Peter Lindstrom, I'm representing District 10, and I just want to say that I am fired up and ready to go and ready to sink my teeth into these pressing issues of the day around affordable housing, economic development, transit. We have, as this book demonstrates, Thrive 2040, we have I think, close to 1 million people that are going to be coming into our community. Our community is going to grow by that amount over the next 2 decades. And how do we move people around in an efficient way, and where are they going to live, and where are they going to play? These are some of the central issues of the day, and I am ready to go.
Excellent. Thank you. Councilmember Bento.
Thank you. I'm just excited and humbled to be here. It's great. I want to thank my siblings for being here and for behaving. You're doing a very good job. I want to echo the gratitude that everyone's expressed about the process and the thoroughness of screening the applicants. I want to thank the chair and the administrator and all of the staff for an amazing day. And I'm most excited because for a former educator and someone who's spent most of the last 20 years doing quite a bit as a volunteer and board member for nonprofits here in the Twin Cities, there's so much to do, and it takes good public policy as well as good works by organizations like Habitat for Humanity and environmental groups. We need the whole community working together. It does take a village, so I'm excited.
Councilmember Gonzalez.
Muy buenas noches. Gracias por venir aquí hoy. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here today. Looking forward to working with all of you on creating a smart, sustainable, and equitable community. And glad to be here and have the opportunity to represent District 12, the East Metro, at the council. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Councilmember Lee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Chai Lee. I represent the east side of St. Paul and our neighboring cities, West St. Paul, South St. Paul, Lilydale, Lake Elmo. I look forward to working on the issues and crisis of affordable housing in our metro region. And I'm really grateful for all the work that the nomination committee has done to bring all of us here together. In my day job, I work to help train people of color who want to get on government boards and commissions. And I, as a child of refugee and immigrants, first generation college student who has grown up in poverty, I appreciate Governor Wallace's equity lens and his effort to reach out to make this one of the most inclusive processes ever. And also thanks to the Met Council staff for making today one of the best orientation days I've ever experienced in my professional life. And I really look forward to working with everyone, so thank you.
Councilmember Fredson.
Great, thank you. Chris Fredson from St. Paul. Look forward to getting out across the metro, listening, learning, building relationships, and immersing myself and ourselves in the experience of the people we serve. So driven to achieve and deliver on the Walls-Flanagan promise of One Minnesota. So, thank you.
Good. Councilmember Sterner.
Thank you, Chair Slavik. First, I want to thank Governor Wallace and Lieutenant Governor Flanagan and the nominating committee and Chair Slavik and all the people who wrote letters of recommendation for me to allow me to serve today. I serve District 15, which is Burnsville, Invergrove Heights, Egan, and Rosemont area. And I'm also looking to work on transportation issues with Scott and Dakota County specifically, although we have the full region needs help on that. And environment is really important for me to kind of work with the One Minnesota and the climate for energy, renewable energy by 2050. I look forward to helping on that, and also affordable housing for all. I think everyone needs a warm place to sleep at night, and that's important to me as well. So I look and work with my new council here and meeting everyone and working together. And thanks everyone for coming tonight, my family, friends, and neighbors. So thank you.
Great. Councilmember Wolf.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Since I'm the last one between the food, I'll try to be brief. I'm thankful to Governor Waltz and Lieutenant Governor Flanagan and very honored to have the opportunity to serve my 5th term on the Metropolitan Council. It's been great to see the amount of energy and knowledge that everybody is bringing to the table. I'm really looking forward to getting to know all of you better and continuing the good work of the council.
Excellent. Good. Well, thank you, council members. It's great to hear what everybody's looking forward to, and We will see you soon for our next meeting. I'm going to have Meredith, I'm going to call on her for her report as regional administrator.
Great. Thank you so much, Madam Chair. I just want to say welcome to all of our guests. The council meetings are often not this full, and there aren't this many smiling faces usually. Sometimes we have folks who are a little grumpier. So welcome and thank you for being here and for your support and encouragement. I want to say welcome and welcome back to all of our council members. Welcome to the team on behalf of the 4,300 staff here at the council. We're thrilled to have you. There's a lot of pent up energy, you know, when we know a new administration's coming and a new set of appointments and our existing councils saying some of them are not going to reapply. We know we're going to have a lot of new faces. And so that demand and energy builds with staff, and they have a lot of things they want to tell you and a lot of things they want to get your opinion on. And so get ready. Your emails are live and we're going to be in touch. But please don't hesitate to ask if there are things we can do. So thank you. Welcome to the team, and let there be cake.
General Counsel, anything?
Oh, I just wanted to say on behalf of all of my attorneys and staff in the Office of General Counsel, we're very excited to have you here and look forward to working with you. And again, there are no stupid questions. You're going to have a lot of questions. It's a lot of information. Feel free to reach out to us and we can help you.
Excellent. Now let them eat cake. Enjoy the reception. We are adjourned.